7:51. It is now 9 minutes away from 8 o'clock. It's the KRMG Morning News with Joe Kelly. We're joined by United States Senator Jim Inhofe. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Joe.
You know, as you have been so often painted as the villain, I feel like we might need some appropriate music here.
All right, Joe, is that on my time or yours?
That's all right. I'll take that out of my time, sir.
Okay.
All right, the Imperial March there, of course, we found out later that Darth Vader was kind of, he was painted to be the caricature that he was, and this Rolling Stone magazine, on the cover, it reads, "You idiots, meet the planet's worst enemies." You included on that list.
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised. Joe, way back, even before you came to Tulsa, that's been my issue about 10 years ago, back during the Kyoto Treaty. And, we finally, for the first 8 years, people just didn't believe it because I was the only one talking about what they're doing, how they're cooking the science. Now, I think redemption has come with the Climate Gate and with all the realization that this is something that's been cooked up for a long period of time. And I really think, well, getting to this Copenhagen thing, I went all the way over there just because I felt an obligation, Joe, that the other 191 countries, they were going to be going back to their countries and saying that America is going to pass a cap and trade, because that's what John Kerry and Nancy Pelosi and others said. So I felt obligated to go over there and say it is not going to happen. I think it'd be doing them a great disservice to go back and think that we're going to be leading the way on something that we're not. It's not that we don't want to. It's just that those individuals now, the prevailing science is that the influence of anthropogenic gases and CO2 in terms of global warming is so small it's hardly measurable. And there are other factors, and I think people realize that now.
I see a lot of people making comments online about, where is Al Gore during this? But where is Al Gore during this? With a cold experience around the globe right now, where in the world is Al Gore? You
don't see him, and of course he made a real quick appearance in Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen at that time they were setting an all-time cold record, the same as we're setting right here in Tulsa. So they're not to be seen, and you're seeing an awful lot of people changing their positions. John McCain's a good example. He was the author of Cap and Trade for 4 years. Now he's very much against it. And I have a list in front of me of members of the House and Senate who have changed their positions. And so even without those changes, they didn't have near the votes that they would need. You're right, Al Gore's gone. And I know there are a lot of people out there listening to us now who feel sorry for Al Gore because his movie's been debunked and all that. Don't feel sorry for him, because the latest report is he's dangerously close to $1 billion, that's with a B, that he's made on this issue. He started with $2 million, he's up to $1 billion now.
Poor Al Gore.
Al's all right, don't worry about it.
Now, there's a CBS News report that came out, an in-depth investigative study about the travel to Copenhagen for the summit, and you're featured in that. But one of your colleagues in the delegation is also featured, Congressman John Sullivan. Seems to kind of put you guys at odds.
Oh, not at all. He went with the Nancy Pelosi invited, I think it's 24 Democrats and 5 Republicans to go over, and they went over. They took 2 what we call C-40s. It's a military plane. It's the military version of the 737. So it was a very expensive trip for those people to go over, particularly when they didn't have anything to go over for. They knew that we were not going to pass cap and trade, and for them to spend all that money and time and effort to try to deceive the rest of the world, I think that's the worst part of it. And of course the cost is huge. Now I have to defend myself on this. I went over commercially on an airlines, went 9 hours over, 9 hours back, spent only 3 hours there, but I got a lot done in those 3 hours. John, I didn't know until last night that John Kerry, I thought he went over commercially. He took military, just himself, in one great big plane, probably a G5, I'm guessing, and went over to make his speech and came back. Now, he didn't mention to me that he had a military plane.
That's considerable pollution putting into the air to go to a pollution conference.
Oh, yeah, I'll say